To cure my girlfriend, I had my blood drawn 99 times, only then did I discover that she had been faking her illness for the past 10 years, all to take my blood, and use it to treat her lover. They treated me as a walking blood bank, and even said my entire family got what they deserved. I exposed her lover for faking his illness, selling my blood for money, and presented evidence of his drug trafficking. Afterward, she poisoned her lover's entire family, and was sentenced to life imprisonment, crying out my name daily in prison until her death. 10 years ago, my entire clan was massacred. In my despair, Vivian Sterling hid me on a boat, allowing me to escape the pursuit. I became the last surviving scion of the ancient healers. But when I extracted my life force elixir from his unique bloodline, for the 99th time to make medicine, and deliver it to Vivian Sterling, I overheard her and her friend's conversation. Vivian, how many times has Ethan Miller delivered medicine for you? I've lost count. He truly is a fool. For 10 years, your health has been better than anyone's, yet as a doctor, he hasn't noticed a thing. Then I heard Vivian Sterling's cold voice. What? Do you pity him? No, it's just that he's the boy you raised. You two have been married for 5 years now. Haven't you thought about what would happen if he found out? He won't find out. Julian's body only needs one last dose of medicine. Afterward, I'll announce my recovery, and this whole thing will be over. Besides, if he hadn't held back on the formula back then, why would Julian's illness have been delayed for so many years? He owes this to Julian and me. He must pay. Standing outside the door, I clutched the medicine in my hand, tears unconsciously streaming down my face. It turned out that all the medicine I had painstakingly made was used on Vivian Sterling's idealized love. She even went so far as to marry someone she didn't love, all for him. In that case, Vivian Sterling, after 99 times, it's over, our bond is broken, and our paths diverge. But, the other voice tried to say more, but Vivian Sterling cut her off. There are no buts. If it weren't for Julian, how would the Sterling estate have allowed someone of unknown origin to enter our home? From the very beginning, the only person I've ever loved is Julian. Everything I do to help him recover is worth it. As for Ethan Miller, allowing him to become the Sterling estate's son-in-law is his greatest reward. The person opposite her looked crestfallen, and couldn't help but speak again. You could have just told Ethan Miller the truth back then. He liked you so much. Why would he have refused your request to treat Julian? Why did you specifically choose to fake an illness and trick him into marriage? Once this is exposed, you and Ethan Miller will never be able to go back to how things were. He might even resent you. Are you truly willing to throw away 10 years of relying on each other? Vivian Sterling suddenly stood up and took a small sip of her drink. I don't know, but I can't take that risk. Back then, Julian and I were just traveling together, and he became so jealous that he slandered Julian, accusing him of harming him. I can't risk any unexpected complications. Once I get this last dose of medicine, everything will be over, and you shouldn't mention it again. Just because I don't say anything doesn't mean it will all disappear. I don't know how this medicine that can cure even terminal illnesses is made, but I do know that Ethan Miller's mental state has been deteriorating over the years. He's barely recognizable. How can you be so heartless? Before she could finish, Vivian Sterling interrupted her again. Enough. It's just making medicine. It's not like I asked him to do anything else. At worst, I'll take care of him after this, and I'll make sure he gains all his weight back. Oh, you're really going all the way with this, aren't you? Why? It was such a simple matter. Yet you've complicated everyone's relationships. Don't be angry. I won't say any more. Do as you please. The voices inside gradually fell silent, and I slid down the wall to the floor. 10 years ago, my clan was suddenly massacred, and only I, a child, was forcibly sent out by the patriarch. Facing the pursuit, Vivian Sterling hid me on her boat, claiming I was her younger brother to deceive them. Later, realizing I had nowhere to go, she brought me back to the Sterling estate, and took me in, under her care. I quickly integrated into the Sterling estate, and little by little, fell in love with the only person I could rely on. At that time, she and Julian Harrison were still well-known childhood sweethearts. I had intended to hide my love for her forever, to be her brother for life. But then 5 years ago, she suddenly proposed to me, shattering everything between us. Not long after, she was diagnosed with a terminal illness. Our clan is naturally skilled in medicine, especially our life force elixir from his unique bloodline. which possess the power to heal the gravest wounds and restore vitality. So I risked exposing my identity to save her, but I never imagined it was all just a charade she performed for Julian Harrison. At this thought, a throbbing pain spread through my chest, but even the deepest physical pain was less than a fraction of the agony in my heart. For the first time, I didn't personally deliver the medicine to Vivian Sterling. Instead, I endured the intense pain throughout my body, and walked to the main hall, after asking the staff to deliver the medicine to Vivian Sterling for me. I couldn't hold it back anymore, and spat out a mouthful of fresh blood, but just as I stepped out of the main entrance, I heard footsteps behind me. Vivian Sterling grabbed my hand, holding me tightly in her embrace, her eyes full of concern. "Why did you entrust the medicine to someone else? Are you all right?" I just came in too much of a hurry. I suddenly remembered something I hadn't finished, so I asked the staff for help. "You don't need to be so nervous. I trust your abilities. If it weren't for you all these years, I wouldn't be where I am now. I'll take you back." After speaking, she dotingly playfully tapped my nose, about to take me home, but I turned sideways, creating distance between us. How could she treat me like a disposable item one moment, and then act as loving as ever the next? She was momentarily stunned by my evasion, looking at me with an unreadable expression. I quickly took her hand, reassuring her, "No need. You should take your medicine quickly. Your health is important. I can go home by myself." Hearing my words, her tense expression finally relaxed, and she uncharacteristically saw me out the door. Upon returning to the Sterling estate, I went directly to the study to draft the divorce papers. The moment I opened the door, my eyes fell upon all the wedding photos of Vivian Sterling and me. The happier I had smiled then, the more ironic I found myself now. Just as I was about to leave, a wedding photo on the wall suddenly fell, and the sight before me froze me in place. I frantically took down all the wedding photos from the wall, without exception. On the back of every single one was a picture of her and Julian Harrison, with the same poses and the same settings, only the male lead had changed. So 5 years ago, when she said she wanted to hang all the wedding photos in the study so she could see me at all times, she was actually looking at Julian Harrison. Tucked behind the largest wedding photo was a letter Julian Harrison had written to her. From the first time I used my life force elixir from his unique bloodline to make medicine, every time he received the medicine, he would write a thank you letter to Vivian Sterling. More than a thank you letter, it was a love letter, filled with their unrequited love. Even though I already knew our marriage was just a deception she orchestrated for Julian Harrison, my heart was still torn in two. Vivian Sterling never kept me around when I delivered the medicine to her, claiming she didn't want me to see her suffering during an episode. She said it would make me sad, and if I was sad, she would be unhappy too. But who knew? Everything she did was merely to facilitate sending the medicine to Julian Harrison. Besides that, there was also a wedding planning booklet, with the groom's surname clearly listed as Harrison. It was filled with her revisions and notes, showing how seriously she had taken it. As for me, due to my awkward status, Vivian Sterling said she was afraid of gossip from others, so I had nothing but that marriage certificate. I mockingly wiped away the tears from my face, and quietly restored everything to its original state. After closing the door, I made a phone call. "Ethan, you finally agreed." "Yes, I agree. But please wait for me for 3 days." No sooner had I hung up the phone than Vivian Sterling's familiar voice came from behind me. "Ethan, who were you just talking to on the phone? What's happening in 3 days?" I quickly put away my phone and calmly replied, "Nothing much, just a friend inviting me out to eat. How do you feel after taking the medicine this time? Let me check on you again." Hearing this, Vivian Sterling didn't ask further. She simply skillfully produced a hospital examination report, and handed it to me, then absent-mindedly played with the hair on my forehead. "Ethan, let's have a child, shall we?" The hand I was using to flip through the document suddenly froze. Her soft hand clasped mine, and she looked at my eyes with affection. "I heard the wish you made on your last birthday. Before, my body wasn't well enough, but now my illness is almost cured. It's time to have a child. Well, have 2 children, one like you, one like me. Doesn't that sound wonderful?" I looked at the longing in her eyes, and unconsciously bit my lip. I love children, especially after being the only one left of my entire clan. But what Vivian Sterling didn't know was that the moment I chose to use my life force elixir from his unique bloodline to save her, I was destined never to have my own children. "Ethan, please, what do you say?" Vivian Sterling gently shook my hands, fearing she would notice my abnormality. I could only hold her close, my eyes devoid of emotion. She however, thought I had agreed and quickly ran to the kitchen to cook for me, saying she would fatten me up so we could have a chubby baby. I watched her busy figure and softly said, "Vivian Sterling, you saved my life. But you tricked me out of 99 drops of my life force elixir from his unique bloodline. We are even now." With that, I used my phone to buy a plane ticket for overseas, leaving in 3 days. During our intimate moments, I had once revealed my identity as one of the ancient healers clan to Vivian Sterling, to avoid unnecessary trouble. Before leaving, I had to maintain my facade. The next day when I woke up, Vivian Sterling was nowhere to be seen. When I went to Sterling Corp with the divorce papers, the receptionist informed me that Vivian Sterling hadn't come to the office at all. "Mr. Miller, didn't Ms. Sterling tell you? She said she'd be working from home these past few days." I had no intention of worrying about where Vivian Sterling had gone, but before I had walked far, I heard whispers from behind me. "Is that Ms. Sterling's brother? How could he not even know Ms. Sterling isn't at the office? It seems life in a prominent family isn't all it's cracked up to be." "Hey, quiet down. He's not Ms. Sterling's biological brother at all. He's just adopted. And I heard he even dreams of marrying Ms. Sterling. He should really look at his own background. He's just an orphan of unknown origin. If Ms. Sterling hadn't taken a liking to him, I'd despise even speaking another word to him. Ms. Sterling must have gone to meet her future husband. I secretly saw her video calling him. He's a true heir from a prominent family. By my calculations, it's exactly the time they arranged to meet." I clenched my fists tightly, my back rigid. So this is how she introduced me to outsiders, not her husband, but her brother. I wandered aimlessly on the streets for a long time, before returning to the Sterling estate. The moment I stepped inside, the voices from within stopped me short. "Julian, it's so good to see you. How have you been all these years? Haven't you read the many letters I wrote to you? All these years, I've been overseas treating my illness alone. If it weren't for a certain someone constantly urging me to persevere, I would have given up long ago. It's just a shame she's married now. I don't know if he'll ever have the chance to repay her." Vivian Sterling's eyes were red-rimmed, and she looked up in shock. "You will, you definitely will, Viv. Thank you. If you hadn't sent me the medicine back then, how would I have the chance to stand here now? I specifically came to thank you. Ethan should be back soon. He never liked me being with you, especially since we once. Now that you're married, I am afraid he'll argue with you again." I smirked. I didn't like him. When I first entered the Sterling estate, he was the one who ganged up with others to ostracize me. They all thought I was a social climber, trying to cling to power and influence, and that those chance encounters and pursuits were all a deliberate act by me. Fortunately, Vivian Sterling trusted me unconditionally then, and spoke up for me, but who knew, in the end, she was the one who hurt me the most. Through the entryway, Vivian Sterling wore a bitter expression. She carefully took out a medicine bottle from behind her back, and handed it to Julian Harrison. "This is the medicine Ethan Miller just prepared. Drink it, and you'll be completely well. And what you've wished for will quickly come true. Also, I never legally registered our marriage with Ethan Miller. The marriage is fake." Seeing this, the divorce papers in my hand suddenly slipped, hitting the floor with an unusually crisp sound. The two inside finally noticed my presence. Vivian Sterling whipped her head around, her eyes tense, and quickly walked towards me. "Ethan, where did you just go? I bought breakfast and didn't see you. Do you remember Julian? He just returned from overseas, and told me he missed you a lot these past years. He even congratulated us when he heard we got married." Vivian Sterling subtly gestured, and Julian Harrison slowly placed the medicine bottle into his bag, immediately joining in with a smile. "Yes, Ethan, your wishes have finally come true. May you and Viv have a lifetime of happiness together, and a house full of children. You haven't had breakfast yet, have you? Ethan bought a lot. Let's eat together." Looking at his impeccably refined attire, and his graceful demeanor, it felt as if our roles had reversed. He was the host, and I was merely a guest. I glanced at the seafood chowder on the dining table, which I was allergic to, suppressed the grievance in my heart, and refused with a smile. "No, thank you." Then I picked up the divorce papers from the floor and went upstairs, feigning discomfort. Downstairs, their intimate banter echoed. I held back my tears, and tore the divorce papers into tiny pieces, shredding the marriage certificate along with it. Just like my love for Vivian Sterling, it all turned to dust and vanished. No sooner had I flushed the shredded pieces down the toilet than Vivian Sterling entered the room. Seeing me lying on the bed, she firmly pulled back my blanket, turning me to face her, and softly said, "Ethan, don't overthink things. Julian just returned from overseas simply to see us. Right now, I only love you. He and I are completely in the past. Also, tomorrow is our wedding anniversary, and there's an auction gala. Let's go together. Haven't you always wanted to be a father?" I checked the calendar, and tomorrow is my ovulation day. Listening to her usual display of concern, I suddenly felt like laughing. To cure Julian Harrison, she didn't hesitate to abandon her upbringing and become a deceiver. Now that she had everything she wanted, why did she still need to lie to me? "I believe you. We'll be together forever." Hearing my words, her furrowed brow finally relaxed, and she gave me a few more instructions. Before heading downstairs to see Julian Harrison home, I stood by the window, watching the receding car. "Vivian Sterling, you lied to me so many times. I'll only deceive you once." The day Vivian Sterling didn't return, her assistant told me there was something urgent at the company, and she had to go on an emergency business trip. But late that night, a video arrived from Julian Harrison. Julian Harrison leaned against Vivian Sterling, intimately caressing her shoulder. "VIV, now that I am back, how are you going to deal with Ethan Miller? He still thinks he's your husband, and I don't want to be the third wheel between you two." Vivian Sterling flipped him over, pinning Julian Harrison beneath her, and stared intensely into his eyes. Not the third wheel. If anyone is, it's him. I kindly treated him as a younger brother, yet he actually wants to be the Sterling estate's son-in-law. If it weren't for curing your illness, I'd feel sick just looking at him. Besides, haven't I already legally registered our marriage with you? I've been planning our wedding for a long time. I guarantee everyone will know that you are the Sterling estate's rightful son-in-law. So, you've always found me repulsive. Since that's the case, I'll grant you your wish." I formally replied to him, "May you have a lifetime of happiness together, and a house full of children." I tossed my phone aside, unable to sleep all night. It wasn't until the evening of the next day that Vivian Sterling sent a driver to pick me up for the auction gala. At the auction gala, luminaries gathered. The moment I entered the venue alone, I was stopped by a group of people. "Isn't that Mr. Miller from the Sterling estate? Does he really think he's the eldest young master of the Sterling estate? Do you even deserve to attend an event like this? If Ms. Sterling hadn't been tricked by you when she was young, who knows where you'd be scheming and stealing now?" TSK. For someone raised by the Sterling estate for 10 years, you show no signs of elegance or refinement. Look at what you're wearing. It's just embarrassing the Sterling estate. Looking at their exquisite and expensive designer suits and dresses, and my simple attire. Vivian Sterling hadn't told me I needed to dress like this. Just as I felt mortified, Julian Harrison walked over intimately, arm in arm with Vivian Sterling. The people who had just been mocking me immediately changed their expressions, and eagerly greeted them. "Julian, here, come in quickly. You had a great night yesterday, didn't you? As soon as you returned, we wanted to invite you, but we were afraid of disturbing your time alone. We also hope you can put in a good word for my family with Ms. Sterling. We'd like to get a share in some of Sterling Corp's future projects." Ms. Sterling, I am not criticizing you, but some people simply don't belong here. Don't force them into these gatherings. It just lowers the caliber of the event. The person speaking pushed me aside. Their fawning manner was a stark contrast to their previous pretense. Julian Harrison looked at me, his eyes full of triumph. "Don't talk nonsense, Ethan. I haven't participated in social events for too long, and my parents insisted that VIV bring me along. Don't overthink it. Or how about it, VIV, you take Ethan inside. I can manage alone." Hearing this, Vivian Sterling frowned slightly. She grabbed Julian Harrison, who was trying to pull his hand away, and said coldly, "No need. We'll go together. He won't mind." With that, Vivian Sterling gave me only a glance telling me to follow, then pulled Julian Harrison and walked ahead. In her eyes, I wasn't even worthy of having an opinion. "But Vivian Sterling, today is our wedding anniversary. Have you forgotten?" I quietly stood in the corner, watching Vivian Sterling spend lavishly for Julian Harrison, watching their public displays of affection. The betrayal and distress made it almost impossible for me to breathe. I had only just sat down outside for a moment when a voice came from behind me. "Ethan Miller, you must be very upset, aren't you?" It was Julian Harrison. I didn't know when he had followed me out, I told you long ago. Vivian Sterling is mine. Even if I don't want something, no one else should dare covet it. And this thing, isn't it what you've always wanted? With that, a treasured family heirloom pendant spun between his fingers. I took a closer look, and my eyes immediately widened. It was the only memento of my parents I had managed to keep when I escaped that year. I had thought I lost it by accident and had even begged Vivian Sterling to help me search for it, for a long time. Now it was actually in Julian Harrison's hands. Seeing me stare intently at the treasured family heirloom pendant, Julian Harrison smiled even more triumphantly. You didn't actually think Viv truly loved you, did you? She made a fake marriage certificate for you, all for me, you fool. Speaking of which, I should thank you. If you hadn't used your life force elixir from his unique bloodline to defy fate, how would I be alive today? I didn't originally intend to treat you this way, but it's all thanks to your ungrateful clan members. All we asked was for them to dedicate themselves to the Harrison family, and they dared to refuse us. They truly got what they deserved. Hearing this, there was nothing left for me to misunderstand. The images of my clan members dying tragically, and my parents desperately urging me to escape flashed through my mind. They were all killed by the Harrison family. I couldn't hold back any longer. I swung my fist, and landed a heavy blow on his face. In an instant, his face became red and swollen, but instead of fighting back, he deliberately fell with the force of my blow. I paid him no mind, still wanting to continue to grab back the treasured family heirloom pendant, but Vivian Sterling, who had rushed over, kicked me down. As I tumbled, I felt a sharp pain in my chest. My old wounds, not yet healed, were re-injured by the heavy impact. I lay paralyzed on the ground, unable to recover for a long time, but Vivian Sterling didn't even spare me a glance. She simply helped Julian Harrison up, admonishing loudly, "Ethan Miller, what are you doing?" Julian kindly paid a high price for the treasured family heirloom pendant to give to you, and this is how you treat him. Julian Harrison leaned weakly into her arms, covering his face in feigned grievance. "Viv, I am sorry. I just wanted to give Ethan his parents' memento back. I didn't realize he was still resentful about what happened back then. Never mind. He's your younger brother. Without him, I wouldn't have the chance to stand here again. Let's consider today's events a clean slate." My anger intensified. I forced myself to stand and roared, "A clean slate? On what grounds?" Vivian Sterling, who was the medicine I painstakingly made actually for. "Don't you owe me an explanation?" A flicker of panic crossed Vivian Sterling's eyes, but she quickly composed herself. "An explanation for what? I know you've worked hard treating my illness all these years, but you can't slander Julian. He's been studying overseas all these years, and has nothing to do with this. Besides, I am married to you. Now, stop being so suspicious, Ethan Miller. Don't make me regret bringing you back to the Sterling estate." With that, she angrily threw the treasured family heirloom pendant at my feet, helped Julian Harrison up, and left without looking back. I looked at the treasured family heirloom pendant, shattered into pieces, my heart turning to ice. By the time I had knelt down and picked up all the shattered pieces, the auction gala had already dispersed. I only saw Vivian Sterling's black luxury sedan driving away with Julian Harrison, and at that moment, I suddenly decided I wouldn't let them off the hook. I quietly took out my phone and dialed that number again. "The plan has changed. Come pick me up, and also do something for me." At the hospital, Vivian Sterling was arranging examinations for Julian Harrison. "You drank the last dose of medicine not long ago, and then Ethan Miller hurt you. You must not be feeling well." Julian Harrison, unfazed, confidently took Vivian Sterling's hand and said playfully, "It's nothing. I am fine. Even if Ethan has an issue with me, don't you still trust his medical skills?" Seeing Vivian Sterling still unmoved, he quickly lay on the bed and said with concern, "All right, I'll go through with the examination, but the rain outside is so heavy, you should go back and check on Ethan. Don't let him get really angry." Hearing Julian Harrison mention me, Vivian Sterling's eyes filled with impatience. "Don't mention him. I've truly spoiled him rotten. He's even learned to hit people. It's just a small punishment, to teach him a lesson and see if he dares to treat you like that again." Hearing this, Julian Harrison couldn't help but let the corners of his mouth curl up. Vivian Sterling picked up an apple nearby and began peeling it unhurriedly, but as the sound of the rain grew louder, the hand holding the knife involuntarily slowed. She then recalled the day she met Ethan Miller. It had also been raining heavily like this. From what she remembered, Ethan Miller was always afraid of rain. Her heart pounded faster and faster, and with a hiss, her finger was cut by the knife. "Viv, are you alright? Is it serious? I'll call a doctor." Julian Harrison's alarmed cry interrupted her thoughts. She stood up, quickly offered a few words of comfort, and then excused herself from the hospital room. After she finished bandaging her finger and calmed her inner anxiety, she was about to push the door open. Just then, she heard the sound of a phone call from inside. "Is the effect of the ancient healer's clan's life force elixir from his unique bloodline really that potent? What else? Haven't I sent you all the examination reports? But it has to be willingly given by them. All that blood we collected before was completely useless." You should have seen Ethan Miller's expression, that walking blood bank, when he found out the blood he painstakingly extracted wasn't even for Vivian Sterling. It was priceless. A sneer came from inside the room. Vivian Sterling felt her mind go blank, and blood began to flow again from her bandaged wound. "What do you mean? Those medicines from Ethan Miller were made from his life force elixir from his unique bloodline." The conversation inside continued. "My son still has brains, but he won't be of much use anymore. Legend says that members of the ancient healer's clan don't live long after extracting their life force elixir from his unique bloodline. So what? Vivian Sterling was the one who coaxed him into making medicine with his life force elixir from his unique bloodline. If I hadn't spared him back then, he wouldn't have lived for these past 10 years. He'd have rotted away long ago." Hearing this, Vivian Sterling couldn't take it anymore. She pushed open the door with a face full of fury, grabbed Julian Harrison by the collar, and demanded, "What did you just say? Who's going to die?" Julian Harrison hadn't expected his words to be overheard. He frantically hung up the phone, his eyes wide with terror. "Viv, why are you back? Please, let me explain." Seeing Julian Harrison's appearance, there was nothing left for Vivian Sterling to misunderstand. Tears streamed from her eyes. She released Julian Harrison's clothes, stumbled back a few steps, her face filled with disbelief and sorrow. No wonder Ethan Miller had been getting thinner and paler. He was actually extending his life using his own life force. Yet not only was her illness faked, but even the marriage, which was supposed to be a reward, was a lie. Vivian Sterling's legs gave out, and she collapsed onto the floor, slapping her own face frantically. "It's all my fault. I didn't know this would harm you, Ethan. I am sorry. I am so sorry." Julian Harrison, seeing the situation turn bad, tried to escape, but he hadn't taken 2 steps before Vivian Sterling grabbed him. "You can't leave. If you hadn't misled me, I wouldn't have hurt Ethan. Come on, come with me and explain to Ethan." Julian Harrison's eyes darted around. He stopped struggling and again adopted a deeply devoted expression. "Viv, it was my fault. I shouldn't have hidden it from you. But I also wanted to have a lifetime of happiness together with you. You can't bear to see Ethan Miller hurt, but you can bear to let me die waiting." Before he could finish, Vivian Sterling interrupted him with a slap. Vivian Sterling's eyes were exceptionally cold. "I can help you treat your illness, but I will never allow it to be at the cost of Ethan's life." Julian Harrison hadn't expected his tried and true tactics to fail at this moment. Just a second ago, Vivian Sterling had been fiercely scolding Ethan Miller for his sake, and the next second she was physically assaulting him for Ethan Miller's sake. He tried to offer a few more excuses, but Vivian Sterling ordered her bodyguards to drag him downstairs like a dog, and shove him into the car. All the way, Vivian Sterling floored the accelerator, running countless red lights on her way to the auction gala. The car's continuous lurching made Julian Harrison instinctively frightened. "Viv, the Harrison family has collected many aged medicines. I can give them all to Ethan Miller. Don't rush. Safety is important." Before he could finish speaking, Vivian Sterling slammed on the brakes, sending him crashing heavily against the car window. "Shut up. Get out of the car." Vivian Sterling pulled out a bundle of ropes, tied him up, and pushed him into the dark private club. As Vivian Sterling walked, she shouted into the emptiness, "Ethan, are you still here? It's me. I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have lied about my illness, causing you to shorten your lifespan. I shouldn't have shattered your parents' memento, and I shouldn't have left you here all alone. It's all my fault. Please stop hiding and come out, all right?" But apart from her shouts, the venue remained silent. She kicked Julian Harrison, angrily declaring, "Quickly, tell him how you tricked me. Explain it clearly to Ethan. I was completely deceived by you." Julian Harrison dodged and pleaded for mercy. He absolutely didn't want to apologize or admit defeat to Ethan Miller, but after a few more punches, he finally couldn't take it anymore. Ethan Miller, I am sorry. I was wrong. Vivian Sterling had no idea your medicine required your life force elixir from his unique bloodline to be made. I deceived her. If you want to blame someone, blame me. Vivian Sterling is innocent. Hearing this, Vivian Sterling looked inside with a face full of hope. She was waiting for the boy who had silently loved her for 10 years to reappear, but as time slowly ticked by, there was still no movement inside. Vivian Sterling froze. She made a phone call and summoned the private club's manager. With a click, the lights flooded the room. She threw Julian Harrison aside and searched for Ethan Miller's whereabouts little by little, but no matter how many times she searched, there was nothing except a trace of blood, where the treasured family heirloom pendant had been shattered. She desperately stroked that small trace, murmuring, "Can you still not forgive me? With rain this heavy, you couldn't get a ride, you couldn't have gone anywhere else. I understand. You haven't gotten your blood back yet. I'll help you with that now, with that." She picked up a dining knife nearby and walked towards Julian Harrison. "You took so much of Ethan's blood, you must return it to him." Vivian Sterling closed in, step by step. Julian Harrison, terrified, quickly retreated, his eyes filled with terror, shouting, "No, I didn't. I was never sick. I didn't drink a single bottle of Ethan Miller's medicine." "What did you say?" Vivian Sterling's face instantly filled with shock, and she froze in place. She quickly regained her composure, gripping Julian Harrison's shoulders tightly with both hands, and roared, quickly, "What did you mean by what you just said?" Julian Harrison, frightened by her ruthlessness, said with chattering teeth, "The ancestors of the ancient healers clan placed a curse that only blood, willingly extracted from them, possesses the power to heal the gravest wounds and restore vitality. That's why I faked my illness, and had you coax him into extracting his blood to make the medicine. In truth, all that medicine was sold to others by the Harrison family. Didn't you once ask me why the Harrison family developed so quickly in these past 5 years? It's because I was overseas, helping to sell Ethan Miller's life force elixir from his unique bloodline." With all the secrets revealed, Julian Harrison's fear seemed to vanish. He suddenly let out a soft chuckle, then continued, "Vivian Sterling, why are you pretending like this now? Yes, I deceived you, but did you truly not notice Ethan Miller's abnormalities? Did it never cross your mind that a terminal illness the world's medical community couldn't solve was so easily cured by such a young Ethan Miller? Without you, none of our plans could have been realized. You are the true culprit who harmed Ethan Miller." Julian Harrison's words drove Vivian Sterling into a complete frenzy. She picked up the knife she had dropped, her eyes filled with malice, and was about to plunge it into Julian Harrison's chest. Just then, a phone rang. Vivian Sterling pulled out her phone, glanced at it, and quickly answered, "Mr. Davis, has Ethan returned home? Tell him to wait for me, I'll be right back." But before she could even turn around, an unfamiliar female voice came from the other end. "Hello, may I ask if this is Ethan Miller's wife?" Vivian Sterling stopped in her tracks, the surprise on her face vanishing, and retorted, "Who are you? Why do you have Mr. Davis' phone?" A sigh came from the other end of the phone. "I am the police officer from the police station. Mr. Ethan Miller has committed suicide. His suicide note mentioned you as his only next of kin. Could you please come and handle the matter?" Vivian Sterling's mind went blank. Suicide. A suicide note. How could any of this be connected to Ethan Miller? Wasn't he just hiding in some corner here, waiting for my apology? Vivian Sterling refused to believe what she was hearing. She spoke sarcastically to the police officer on the other end of the phone. "What nonsense are you talking about? Did the Harrison family send you to deceive me? What other schemes do you have? Bring them on. I won't be fooled by you this time. I advise you to consider the Sterling estate's power. Even if the Harrison family developed for another 100 years, they would still be nothing more than a ruined household compared to the Sterling estate." The person on the other end of the phone fell silent for a moment. Soon, a voice Vivian Sterling knew all too well came through. "Miss, no one is deceiving you. Sir truly committed suicide. Please come to the police station immediately." At this moment, Vivian Sterling's heart finally seized with panic. She knew Mr. Davis would never lie to her, so Ethan Miller was truly dead. At the police station, Vivian Sterling trembled as she looked at the body covered by a white sheet, appearing utterly lifeless. She couldn't imagine How someone who had been so vibrant just hours ago could be lying here now. She had only just discovered the truth, and there were so many things she wanted to say and apologies she hadn't had the chance to give to Ethan Miller. Miss, please accept my condolences, Mr. Davis sighed, looking at his dazed mistress. But no sooner had he finished speaking than Vivian Sterling abruptly walked out. It seemed as long as she didn't lift the white sheet, Ethan Miller would remain alive forever. However, the police officer beside them didn't overthink it. Seeing that a family member was present, he simply lifted the white sheet. Ms. Sterling, please confirm if this man is your husband. His head hit a rock in the river when he fell into the water, so his face is barely recognizable. If you can't identify him, we'll arrange for a forensic examination. The police officer's words continued, but Vivian Sterling couldn't hear anything. The body in front of her wore clothes she recognized. The messy hair was exactly like Ethan Miller's, and even the scar on his calf from their escape was identical. She knew it was Ethan Miller, but her heart still refused to believe it. Just as she approached, the man's tightly clenched hand suddenly relaxed, revealing the shattered treasured family heirloom pendant within. Where did this treasured family heirloom pendant come from? His hand was clenched the whole time. We didn't even notice. After confirming the body was Ethan Miller, Vivian Sterling could no longer remain calm. She rushed forward, grasped the body's hand, and broke down in tears. In that moment, she was no longer the high and mighty CEO of the Sterling Group, but an ordinary wife who had lost her husband. Vivian Sterling stayed in the morgue for a full day and night. Undeterred by the cold, she recounted her memories with Ethan Miller, little by little. Ethan, do you remember the day I hid you? Did I ever tell you that the moment I saw you, I was so drawn to you that I had to hide you and bring you back to the Sterling estate? Ethan, you've called me sister so many times over the years, and I honestly got tired of it a long time ago. But I kept telling myself that Julian Harrison was the one I should like, and I couldn't develop feelings for you that I shouldn't. Ethan, don't be scared. I know he's sensitive to the cold. I am taking you home right now. After saying this, Vivian Sterling finally came to her senses. She picked up the body from the bed and started to walk out, but was stopped by the police officers, who had just arrived. Ms. Sterling, you can't take Mr. Miller. We've verified that you and Mr. Miller are not officially registered. You are not married. Despair began to spread through Vivian Sterling. She couldn't accept that she didn't even have the right to take Ethan Miller's body home. She started making a scene at the police station, repeatedly insisting that she was Ethan Miller's rightful wife, with no other choice. Mr. Davis could only notify the patriarch, who had her forcibly taken back home. In the end, she couldn't take anything with her except the will, back at the Sterling estate. Vivian Sterling took the will and locked herself in her room for 3 days and 3 nights. When she emerged, she had reverted to her usual cold and elegant demeanor as the CEO of the Sterling Group. As if nothing had happened, she then called Julian Harrison, offering 10% of the Sterling Group's shares in exchange for them to proceed with the wedding. The Harrison family knew it was a trap, but they couldn't resist the temptation and agreed. The moment the wedding was complete, and the guests' glasses were lowered, Vivian Sterling finally smiled. Julian Harrison asked, puzzled, "Viv, what are you smiling about?" Vivian Sterling looked at him with a pleasant expression and replied, "I am smiling because the Harrison family is about to die." At that moment, the clinking of glasses resonated throughout the main hall. Vivian Sterling had poisoned the wine glasses of everyone in the Harrison family. She intended to eliminate, in one fell swoop, those who had caused her to lose her beloved. That night, police sirens and ambulance wails echoed throughout Maplewood City. Vivian Sterling, however, was smiling with extraordinary happiness. When she was arrested, she looked up towards the sky and softly said, "Ethan, slow down a bit, I'll catch up to you very soon." At the same time, in a hotel abroad, Ethan Miller was leisurely, lying on the sofa, looking at the documents and photos sent back one by the private investigator. A delicate hand rested on his shoulder. "Well, how about it? My plan worked out, didn't it?" He remained silent, letting Stella Montgomery lean down and put a ring on his finger. In his 3rd year of living at the Sterling estate, Stella Montgomery found him. He was a scion of the ancient healers. He had been engaged to her since he was a child. If he hadn't been rescued by Vivian Sterling back then, he would have gone to find her himself. Unfortunately, by the time she found him later, he had already fallen deeply in love with Vivian Sterling, so he refused. He had thought that even if he and Vivian Sterling couldn't be together, he could at least stay by her side as a younger brother. He never imagined their end would be so tragic. In that moment, He felt no satisfaction from getting his revenge, only a sense of melancholy. If Vivian Sterling hadn't been so self-assured, would their relationship have turned out completely differently? Sadly, it was all too late. He returned to his rightful path, went back to the Montgomery family, and married Stella Montgomery to continue his life.